Hey everybody, this is Cromar with TGN, and I'm here today to bring you another World of Warcraft Cataclysm video. This is a DPS test for the Fury Warrior on the PTRs for patch 4.0.6. They just pushed a new patch onto the realms today for a bunch of changes that just happened with the Fury Warrior. These are the changes for the upcoming patch. The most important change, of course, is that they buffed Slam significantly. Don't know how much that's actually going to give us, since Slam is pretty weak, but they still buffed it. Blood Surge also causes your Slam to do additional damage on top of that. Also, they did buff Raging Blow a bit, but then they went up scaling it back, so it's not as buffed as it was. I was actually getting tests before with like 90k Raging Blow crits and crap like that, so obviously that had to get nerfed. But the main reason all these changes have come about is the major nerf to Heroic Strike, which does a very small amount of damage compared to before. It was something like a 30 or 40% nerf. They also took away the bonus from War Academy to Heroic Strike and gave it to your other abilities instead. So what we're about to find out is, did the Warrior get nerfed or buffed? Hopefully buffed, we'll see. Glyphs haven't changed, I just got rid of the Riff Raff and I only have the most relevant glyphs here. There's really nothing to talk about here, there's really no other choices. For talents, it's very obvious to take the DPS talents. There's a couple of non-DPS talents in here that you could easily drop, like Furious Attacks, Piercing Hell, to get Root Interruption if you wanted it. But it's not going to matter for this test anyway. The only other points you could fiddle with would be these points in Insight and Deep Wounds. Now, I only got 2 out of 3 Deep Wounds because it sucks really bad, and I put that extra point into Insight. I'm sure if you crunch the numbers, you can find out that one of these is better than the other, but if you're talking like a 0.5% difference, I really don't care. I'm more interested in testing how Slam and Heroic Strike and Bloodthirst and Raging Blow all work together. So for this test, I also wanted to test whether Single-Minded Fury and Titan's Grip were better, but I couldn't because, guess what, they did not give us any one-handers to test on the pre-mades. Oh well. So I was about to give up on that when I got in touch with my good friend Ryuku from Beta. We raided a whole bunch in Beta. He's a really awesome Fury Warrior, and he actually transferred in his main from Live. So he actually does have some one-handers. Now, his gear is less than mine, because I'm a pre-made, obviously, but he's got he's decked out. He has all the best heroic stuff in several raid items, so he's actually very well geared. His item level is something like 350-something, and real DPS gear, too. So there you go, there's another one, and his engineering goggles, which of course are awesome. So although it's expected that he'll do less DPS, you should be able to just kind of imagine and fudge it to make up the difference in gear. Now I'm going to start this rotation by assuming I can't charge because of raid mechanics, which is pretty common. So I'm just going to run in Berserker stance and hit Battle Shout for Rage, and then hit Colossus Smash and Raging Blow and Bloodthirst, and so on. Honestly, this cycle is the easiest cycle out of just about any DPS class in the game, except maybe Combat Rogues. All you do is you prioritize Raging Blow first. You prioritize Slam second whenever you have a Blood Surge proc, which isn't very often, or isn't often enough, I should say, and then you prioritize Bloodthirst third. And you also hit Heroic Strike whenever you have Spare Rage. I still don't recommend using Inner Rage even after that's been changed. It's been changed so now it's like it reduces the cooldown on your Heroic Strike to 1.5 seconds, so it's used for burning off Rage. But again, you're not in a position where you have excess Rage, so what the hell's the point? I suppose it would be good during a burst if you expect the encounter to only last 15 seconds. You could burst them down with Heroic Strike, something, I don't know. It's just kind of weird. You only have to watch procs from Battle Trance and Insight. If you get either one of those, hit your Heroic Strike as soon as you can. Otherwise, it's Raging Blow first, Slam second, and Bloodthirst third. Just remember to hit Battle Shout every time it comes off cooldown, as well as Colossus Smash and Death Wish. So let's see those results after testing. Titan's Grip came out at 13.1k at the moment I stopped attacking, and Single-Minded Fury came out at 10.4k at the moment that Ryuku stopped attacking. Great result. It shows that although Fury is not exactly gangbusters with either spec, it shows that Single-Minded Fury has caught up very well. Keep in mind that the gap is due to gear. The damage is better than some other classes, especially Combat Rogue. I see Fury falling like squarely in the middle for average. I don't see them doing any kind of outstanding DPS in the near future unless they get a major buff. So nothing special for Fury. Now the reason why, even though they got all these buffs in this patch and but they still didn't really have any kind of net gain, was that the nerf to Heroic Strike was so brutal. Look at Slam. Even with all the buffs, Slam is still only 7%, and I use Slam on every Blood Surge proc. I don't miss a proc, so This is a problem. I mean, all the buffing they've done for Slam is pretty pointless. They can buff it, they can double its damage and still only get a few percent. So it's not a very big deal. Here's part of the problem. Deep Wounds is horrible. I mean, I mentioned before I only have 2 out of 3 points, and other points in Insight. Even if I did put a point, you're talking 1.2% DPS compared to what you get for the extra crit on Heroic Strike. Now, one thing I do like is that you notice here they have a different entry for Raging Blow and Raging Blow offhand. Now, this isn't just a recount thing. If you look in the combat log, you'll actually see that Raging Blow and Raging Blow offhand have separate entries now, so this makes it a lot easier to figure out your DPS. So you could look here and say, okay, well, Raging Blow is 27% of DPS, so obviously, 27.5 actually, so obviously Raging Blow is still your #1 damage ability, no question. It also makes it a lot easier to tell your average damage per hit. Like you can see here that Raging Blow, average crit 31k, offhand average about 10k, so about 40k will be your average crit Raging Blow. A lot easier to tell than it was before. The Heroic Strike nerf is definitely felt, but there you go. So for single-minded Fury data, Ryuka came in at about 10k to a little over 10k, and that's pretty good. I mean, that's a good showing. Bloodthirst actually contributed more total damage than my Bloodthirst, even though I had a couple extra uses. That, of course, is from the single-minded Fury buff. And it also, it would have been more, it would have been a bigger gap, but Ryuka, obviously, his gear was slightly less than mine, so that explains that. For his other abilities, you see Heroic Strike is a much larger percentage of his damage, as is Slam, both Slam and Heroic Strike. Keep in mind that Slam, where it shows his average crit being 12k, that's only showing main hand. The offhand damage is calculated as a separate hit. That's why it shows him having 34 slams, whereas I only have 15. It means he really had 17 slams to my 15. His Raging Blow was drastically weaker than mine, which is completely expected. Not a big deal. That's just how it is with single-minded Fury. So I guess this is kind of interesting results. It just shows a lot of things that you'd expect, really. It shows that Slam is just not powerful enough yet. They really need to do something to it. They need to either buff the damage by a lot or buff the proc rate on Blood Surge. They can make Blood Surge proc off of Raging Blow. They can make Blood Surge off the global cooldown when you hit Slam. There's a lot of things they can do. So that's all for the Fury Warrior today. Thanks for watching. This is Cromar with TGN. As always, asking you to please rate, please comment, and please subscribe.